It would be like, well, you had, you and I live together, let's say as an example, and then, well, you move out and I get another roommate and it's going to be the same. It isn't. It isn't always the same. So all those things have to be, or hopefully will be taken into consideration before somebody brings another animal into the household. Joni, I think it's a good idea if we touch a little bit on when people have existing pets, and then we, being touchy-feely humans, we decide, ooh, let's bring another animal into the home, or the scenario of you have 2 dogs and one of your dogs pass, or you have cats and one of your cats pass, and they're maybe middle-aged or older, and you don't want them to be lonesome, and so you decide, gee, I'd really like to get my cat or dog a companion. Sure. What is a good...
Happens all the time.
Yeah. A lot of times people come in and they say, I had 2 cats, they were 13 and 14, my 14-year-old cat passed away, and I want to get a kitten.
Sure. Oh, okay. What we would obviously, just based on common sense, because it really is about common sense, because you do have to look at the age difference, and and I very often will run a lot of parallels between children. If you have older cats and they're 13, 14 years old, obviously, that's like a 60-year-old person. Right. And then you bring in a kitten, and a kitten is like a preschooler. Okay, and so you're really talking about a pretty challenging relationship there, because your preschooler is going to want to play all the time, right, and your 60-year-old is not going to want to do that. So I think it's important that people do think about, what's going to fit in my household the best. I'm not saying that it can't work, but very often in those types of situations, Cheryl, if they want a kitten, we're going to encourage 2. Because the 2 kittens are going to play with each other, they're going to entertain each other, and even though they'll interact with the older cats, they aren't necessarily going to be bothering them to interact and play.
Kind of gives the older cat the opportunity Sure. to join in if they want to.
If they choose to.
And I think it's important, I think what you're saying is too, please be considerate of your existing pet.
Absolutely.
Because it's very stressful for them. And I know it would be stressful for me if all of a sudden somebody told me I'm going to be living with a toddler.
Yeah.
little hectic there. And the time that's involved. And for older pets especially, it takes longer for them to adapt to change. And so if a kitten, okay, I agree to get 2 kittens for my older cat. What about an older cat? Does age make does gender make an issue as much as age, or is it more personality?
It's more personality. It really is. I mean, you can, there's some basics, obviously, what relationship works best, male, female, that type of thing. But it really is based on personality, because just like anything else, just like people, we're all based on, we have all different types of traits and personality. And so I think that particularly when we're working with folks, we'll encourage certain personalities, and we'll stay within age groups. I'll be honest with you, I always encourage that. I will have occasionally people that come in and maybe they have a geriatric dog, and what I mean by a geriatric dog, in other words, their dog is failing. They're starting to see some problems with hips and getting up, and the dog's still got quality of life, and they're thinking about getting a second dog or maybe a puppy, because they want this older dog to train or to teach their new puppy. I'll be honest with you, Cheryl, I usually discourage it. I tell people, don't do it. Not if your dog is physically failing. In other words, they physically can't cope with a puppy. It doesn't mean that a young dog can't do well with an older dog, but I think that it's an awful lot to ask of a dog that really has some physical limitations.
So if you're thinking about getting a second dog, do it before your older dog is too elderly to really enjoy the companionship of that dog.
Because it may just create more stress and anxiety, and really, your dog, that particular dog, has just a short period of time that they're going to live out their life, and they should do it stress-free or as stressless as possible.
Right,
so yeah, we would discourage
really considering the welfare and well-being of your existing pet.
And the same thing applies to cats.
I don't think anybody would do that intentionally, but I don't think a lot of people we don't realize that, well, you know, he's old, he'll enjoy that company. But again, that energy level and that constant, you know, pestering that a puppy can do, or the anxiety of, oh, you know, I'm no longer part of the pack.
Well, I'm no longer, you know, at the, you know, position that they were at. Now, unfortunately, they have to take a step down because the puppy's going to move up.
Right.
And that's difficult.
Yeah. Let's talk about hierarchy in dog packs. If you have a younger dog, you have a young dog, maybe a 2 or a 3-year-old retriever, and just boundless energy, and you just love being with that dog, but you think that that dog would benefit from having a buddy. And so you're going to look for a 1, 2, 3, or 4-year-old dog to be a good buddy. Will that dog be submissive to the existing dog, or what's some of the pitfalls of, I'm going to bring another dog in and he's going to be the little brother to my older dog?
Well, sometimes they aren't the little brother. Sometimes they actually move up the pecking order, as you are well aware, and I think people have to think about that too. Dogs do live in pecking order, and there generally is a dog that has more, dominance is overused, but actually has a higher positioning than the other dog. And sometimes it can, when a new dog comes in, they may want to be higher up the ladder than the existing dog. And people have to think about that, because that's kind of hard sometimes for people who have a dog at home and they want their dog to be the top dog, and it doesn't always work out that way because the dogs actually decide that.
Right, and that isn't something we as humans can change.
No, we can reinforce, we're the leader, we're always the leader, but we can reinforce certain behaviors. But you know, honestly, I'll tell people again when I'm working with them, if you see that your existing dog really doesn't want to be top dog and the new dog does,
let them be.
Let them be.
Well, and I can share with you an experience with my own dogs. When they were 5, one was 5, the other one was 6. One dog was the definite alpha dog, higher up in the pack structure. And I caught my husband one day giving the other dog a treat first, and then the higher dog. And I noticed over a period of a week that my 2 dogs were fighting. Not really fighting, but being a little bit more, the older one, the top dog, was being a little bit more, that's my toy, and taking things away from the other dog and kind of pushing him around. And I thought, what the heck's going on? And then I noticed that he didn't do it intentionally, but for whatever reason, the one dog was now getting the treat first rather than the higher in the pack dog. And when brought to his attention and we went back to treating the higher dog first, the discord went away. And we had a more peaceable pack. And that was, and it's like, well, we've had these dogs since they were puppies, and we thought, well, they're 5 and 6 now, we don't need to reinforce this anymore. But you do. You need to respect their social structure, and you can make a more peaceful existence in your pet family by respecting that and doing it. And if you're not comfortable having the new dog being higher in the pecking order, then you need to really continue your search.
Sure. And I do tell people, obviously, if a dog is very young, you don't want that as the higher dog, because you wouldn't ever allow a puppy to be the actual top dog in the family. But very often happens with geriatric dogs. And then you have this kind of bully.
Right, and isn't that kind of with the training too? You hear you've got a puppy and you're trying to train, so the puppy is getting a lot of attention, and the older dog is kind of off to the side.
Yeah, so I always tell people, even when they bring in a new dog, they really should ignore the new dog and really lavish a tremendous amount of attention on the existing dog. And dogs don't have a sense of fairness. It's not like, you know, the little guy sitting back going, oh, that's not fair. You know,
he got 2 treats, I only got 1.
Right, exactly. It's not like that for dogs. They're dogs, and they perceive life differently. But they really do understand the fact that we are leaders, and as leaders, we set the tone.
And we need to be consistent.
We need to be
We
consistent.
need to be consistent,
We need to be consistent.
not kind of wait wavering, like, oh, today you get all my attention, and
Sure.
the next day.
Sure. And sometimes people will give up their pets for that very reason, Cheryl, because they don't understand the dynamics that are involved in some of these things. And those are things, again, that we can help with, you know, if they were to call us. And we do consider ourselves, you know, part of the community as far as just helping folks with,
Right.
with certain behaviors or issues. And very often there's so many great professionals out there right now. Oshkosh is full of wonderful people who, particularly with dogs, that do a lot of training, a lot of behavior modification, and it's well worth the investment.
Right. Well,
It
and,
is.
and sometimes just to have somebody confirm for you you're on the right track, or if you do, you could do this a little bit differently, and give you the encouragement to work with it. Hopefully then these dogs would be staying in their home rather than coming to the shelter.